Um, I'm learning about my heritage as an adult. I want to make that very clear. I was raised as a white person with Jewish heritage. Not direct Jewish heritage, but my uncle who married my aunt, and my aunt is my mom's sister, is genetically, ethnically Jewish. I would have to check with him what um, exact ethnicity within Judaism, but I do know he is Jewish, and therefore my younger and older cousin are both Jewish. My older cousin has more stereotypical Jewish features. My younger cousin looks more like what's her name? Carrie Fisher. She looks like if Ashley Tisdale and Carrie Fisher had a love child. So we are the white kind of American. Um, be- because my uncle is Jewish, when we have Christmas, there is a good possibility that we eat at a Chinese restaurant. And my cousins sometimes get out of class assignments because of Jewish holidays that they do not celebrate. Um, but we we've been a progressive family. We're all over the left side of the compass. I'm the odd one out as a post leftist. Um, but uh, we've been a progressive family ever since my grandmother, possibly since before her. Um, and I'm seeing in the news that Trump has made this committee of peace or whatever, and even though there are members of like countries that are members of the committee of peace, hold on, let me look at what exactly it's called. Okay, it's called the Board of Peace. And on the Board of Peace is Kazakhstan. I'm about 7% Kazakhstani. I don't know what ethnicity within Kazakhstan. It's probably white. But I'm very interested in ancestry and heritage and culture, so I did a deep dive on ancestry.com. I have submitted my DNA. They never got back to me. I don't know why. It probably got lost in the mail. I'll try again. Um, I might submit my DNA to multiple websites just to cross analyze. That's, you know, a little extra. I don't know. I'm really into heritage and history. And I'm a, like I said, I'm about 7% Kazakhstani. People have asked me all my life, am I Asian? And now I have an answer for them. I am Kazakhstani. Um, on my dad's side. My mom's side of the equation, I'm both white and Caucasian, as in from the Caucasus Mountains. Um, Kazakhstan being on the Board of Peace does not surprise me. What surprises me is finding out that Kazakhstan being on the Board of Peace is hypocritical of Trump because they can't get a visa here. My like my great 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 grand whatever, however you like, a cousin so far removed or whatever it's called is Kazakhstani, and then they, of course, have an entire family of their own. Um, None of my relatives this generation can come to America. I know my head is on the chopping block just because I wear a headscarf. When I go out in public, I have to deal with a possibility of being sent to a detainment center. And from that detainment center being deported to a prison in a country I've never been to before. And it doesn't matter if I commit a crime or not, that's a possibility. And the more I protest against the Fourth Reich, the more that becomes a possibility. Because we've seen time and time again that the people that ICE chooses to gun down in broad daylight are people who are actively organized against ICE. And I wish I could be more vocal, but right now I'm letting things that affect me more personally in my day-to-day life, I'm letting them take priority because I'm hoping to get justice for not only myself but others. And I gotta put my ass into it to get this done. There's multiple police cases that I have to report to the police. One of them I can't talk about too much is, all I can say is I met a serial killer. He confessed to me. I need to tell the police for that county where to take the cadaver dog. And I have to tell them, I have to solve 5 of that. Because, like I said, serial killer, not just murderer. Thank God it was only 5. But, there's a distinct possibility that his accomplice is still alive. And I'm scared. And that fear overwhelms me way more than my fear of getting deported. Because I'm not an active protester. I barely talk about politics anymore. And I'm trying to speak up more about stuff that touches on politics but isn't outright politics in and of itself, like finances and human trafficking. But I'm scared that if I do get a driver's license and I leave the house solo, I'm scared I won't make it home. Right now, when I leave the house, there's always someone else with me driving. And ICE is usually looking more for the driver than they are for the passenger. And my birth certificate stays in a safe, a locked, fireproof safe. I don't take it with me, and I shouldn't have to. I'm hoping that one day this all will be over. I'm hoping that happens within my lifetime. This is just a blip, an error, an alternate timeline of sorts. And I'm really scared, not just for myself, but for all the people who are more likely to be targeted than I am. And I remember how quiet people got about immigration when Biden was in office, and honestly, I'm not friends with them anymore. Events that happened while Biden was in office were comparable to events that happened during Trump's administration. But because we had a less flamboyant president, it seemed like people were settling for the lesser of two evils. The Republicans may have put Trump into power, but the Democrats sat by and watched it happen. Of course, there are a few exceptions, like Jasmine Crockett, I believe her name is, in Texas. And there's AOC and Ilhan Omar and Muhammad. My brain is not coming together with his name. The guy in New York. I was about to call him Mahatma Gandhi. Mom Donnie. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Mom Donnie up in New York. They're all excellent, and they're actually putting their ass into everything. And I started talking about the Epstein files in 2017. No, was it 2018? Let me look real quick. February-ish of 2018. I started talking about the Epstein files. Well, I started talking about it from a different perspective. I had already told my mother that Christianity was a lie and she needed to come over to worshiping the demons that I worshipped and all that. And in February of 2018, the people who made me worship demons left me for dead. And I have basically never shut up about it. And now it's in the news. And the survivors are coming forward. And it makes me feel like a pussy for not coming forward legally sooner. Because they are going up against the most powerful people in the world, and I am going up a loser stoner trans lady who lives in Tazewell, Virginia. And just because her sister-in-law is the owner of a local weed shop that's popular, that means that, I don't know, doesn't mean much. It just means that I look like a hater who's starting drama over nothing. And people think I'm fucking crazy for saying, look at this lady. Her sister-in-law worships demons that make her think that it's okay to rape people. Drug them and rape them. And people may be wondering how on earth I know this. It's because she did it to me. And she infected me. And then when I was broken beyond repair, she left me for dead. And within months, I was hospitalized for dehydration because I had dissociated so fucking hard that in a house, well, not a house, a condo full of food and a water dispenser and running tap water and financial stability, all that going for me. I forgot to eat or drink anything for 3 days because I stared at a wall. And the guy who I was living with ate at a restaurant before coming home from work, and therefore he assumed I ate before he got home. And on day 3, he was very concerned because I was puking, I was dizzy. I asked him to come bring me Gatorade. And he came home and he took my pulse, and it was going off rhythm. And I said, that's called arrhythmia. I need to go to the ER. And I forget exactly where, if it was before or after I went down the stairs, but at some point, not on the stairs, I passed out unconscious, and he had to pick me up, and then I came back to, because I was horizontal, and he put me in the back of the vehicle and drove me to the hospital, and they gave me, I think it was 4 bags of fluid, and I gained 15 pounds, because I had weighed myself before I went to the hospital, and then I got home from the hospital and I weighed myself again. And they gave me 15 pounds of fluid because I stared at a wall instead of eating or drinking. And it wasn't a conscious choice, it was an accident. After that, I was homeless and still in that condition. I turned to radical leftism, and I no longer ascribe to radical leftism. I think communism is as prone to corruption as capitalism, and it doesn't really matter which one we do. What matters is that we fight corruption. I'm willing to try communism, because whatever we have now is broken. Well, it's not broken. It's functioning exactly how it was designed. But it wasn't designed to be equal. What I'm preoccupied with is, I have to work with the Fort Worth police about that police report where I have photographic and screenshot evidence. B, getting custody with a few screenshots that I need to print out still and take to a lawyer and pay the lawyer. And that's expensive. And C is telling my story until those who were directly affected by Epstein, as opposed to a third degree victim like me, when they feel comfortable, I would like to talk to them. Because since this happened to me when I was 19, just freshly turned 19, when this cult that Epstein either started or inherited, this cult that Epstein was leading, I didn't know anybody else had gone through it. And then I met another victim of the same person who had victimized me. And I don't know what happened to her. She ghosted me. But she was infected. And she was not as well adjusted as I am. She didn't know that the cult wasn't real, that those demons weren't real. That they were alter egos based off of mythos. And these were human beings who had harmed her. And manifesting, I believe in. But that's all it is manifesting. These people are not possessed by demons, and the demons can do you no harm. And she would come crying to me because she had seen a toad or a cat that made her think that... I don't want to say the name. I don't want to trigger anybody if a survivor is watching this. But the one that starts with a B and ends with an L and is 4 letters long, she thought that guy was watching. And I remember having that experience when I was younger and freshly abandoned. I'm doing my part. And I'm so sorry I can't do more for other people. For people who are darker skinned than me. For people whose slanted eyes are more obvious than mine. For people with a monolid. For people with darker eyelashes than me. And darker knuckles than me. Because race is fucking made up anyway. The definition of whiteness changes every couple of generations. When my stepfather, whose parents came over on a boat from Italy, when he was growing up, he wasn't white. And then when he died, he was white. His skin color didn't change. America did. There's something else I'm going to focus on one day. I'm going to be as impartial and unbiased as I can in reporting about it, but there is a large neo-Nazi population within the local Cherokee demographic. And I want to write a book about it. And you may be thinking, well, if you're Kazakhstani, why are you writing about Cherokee people? Because one of my stepdads was Cherokee. He raised me from when I was 14 until I was 18. And I honor him, even though he didn't like me. I honor his memory, and neither my biological father nor my first stepdad were very religious, but my second stepdad, who was Cherokee, was very religious. And he was a closeted neo-Nazi. And because he was so religious, he taught me a lot about his culture, his Cherokee Christian culture. And he voted for Trump. And my ex-wife is also Cherokee Christian and voted for Trump. And that is who's raising my child. Someone who believes that humans and dinosaurs existed at the exact same time. And that humans rode dinosaurs with saddles. I don't think it's wrong to preserve Cherokee history of any kind. And out of all the tribes that I've done research on, the Cherokee were the most patriarchal. I would still consider them a matriarchy compared to what we have today, because matriarchies are good and patriarchies are bad. But that's in an absolute, and there's a spectrum in between. But the Cherokee people enslaved the Woodland Indians, and I would love to know what name the Woodland Indians called themselves. I want to learn about all the tribes that the Cherokee enslaved, particularly my stepdad's ancestors, so the local Cherokee. And I want to learn about my son's heritage too. And to do so, I have to study this MAGA cult and how it affects Cherokee people specifically. Cherokee Christian people specifically. I can't speak for other Cherokee people, just the Cherokee Christian people. And now my son, who is Cherokee Muslim. I'm also going to be working on some really personal projects this year. I'm going to garden. I'm going to make as much of a victory garden as I can put my work into. I'm going to make mistakes and learn from them so that I can do better next year. And I'm hoping that this year I will make one of two things, if not both. I want to make a community compost bin, and I want to make a free little library with dog treats and canned dog food and cat food in it. I will swap them out for fresh ones if they expire. I also want to quit nicotine by the end of this year so that I can be a year clean from nicotine when I turn 30. I have a business to start, which I'm going to be working on next week. I need to... You see that door that's all aglow over there? That's my kitchen door. I need to measure it, and then I need to go to Lowe's, and I need to buy a door that size, and I need to have my handyman come over with his fancy levels and install it properly. After that door is installed, I will have the professional cleaners come back and spend 4 or more hours cleaning just the kitchen. And they will get it so clean that I will be able to get the state inspector to approve me to handle food in my own home. After that gets achieved, whatever timeline that gets achieved in, I hope it's this year, will be, that's when I'm going to be starting my business. I just gotta get inspected first, and there's no way in high hell they're gonna approve my kitchen when there's cat hair in it. So I need a door to keep the cats out. And, you may be wondering why I need to start a business. Basically, the stock market has not been good this year, and I've depleted my inheritance faster than expected. So I need to what do you call it? I need to work long enough to qualify for SSDI, because my legal marriage to my ex-wife disqualified me from SSDI by proxy. where my father was approved for SSDI and I applied for it before I turned 22. And therefore it was on 50% of what he got. And when he passed away, 75% of what he got is what I got. When I got married, it nullified the ability to draw off of my father's disability. I have to qualify on my own now. So I have to work, I don't even know how long. I'm guessing 2 years since I'm self-employed, or going to be self-employed. And if I were to like sign up for example, Bojangles or McDonald's or wherever, fast food or retail or whatever, and pay taxes just like everybody else, I would only need to work 1 year. But where I'm not working the same kind of job, I don't know yet what time frame I will be approved for disability. And so I just need to get on top of it as soon as possible. And I need to start creating an income now that my stocks are not maturing. I'm drawing out stocks faster than they can accrue interest. In order to get this channel monetized, I'm going to have to learn how to change the settings in YouTube Studio and then apply that change of settings in YouTube Studio to each individual video that I've posted. And I've posted over 1,000 videos. So my goal to start donating the funds from this channel to charity is on the back burner until I get that door installed over there. And I'll probably start slow and do maybe 10, 20, 50 videos per day. And let me look up. Okay, if I do 50 videos a day, it'll take me 20 days, but more realistically, if I do 10 videos a day, it'll take me 100 days. Plus, however long, well, as soon as I learn how to change the settings in Studio, I can start doing it every time I post a video so that I don't have more work to do in the future. But this channel is not going to be as much of a priority this year as it was last year. I will be posting as often as is convenient to me, but until this actually gets monetized, it's just a hobby, and I need to work on my career. And I also need to work on winning a court case if it goes to trial. In a perfect world, how do I put this? The guy who I'm going up against legally, I made a report about. I'm not comfortable calling it trafficking because he never received money in exchange for me having sex with somebody else. Unlike the 2 prior times that I am comfortable calling human trafficking. But what I am comfortable calling it is domestic enslavement. And I'm hoping to win that court case. I don't know what that future holds for me, but I'm going to put my effort into it. And I'm scared to make a police report about the cult. Isn't that weird? I'm scared that they're in on it. Maybe I should talk to the family who adopted my daughter and ask them if they know the people who I have beef with. Um, get a feel for things. And maybe they're not in favor locally, and me reporting anything about them will be juicy gossip for the police to investigate. Um, I don't. Hold on, what year is it? Well, time is running out. The statute of limitations will expire. And 10 years after 2017 is coming pretty soon here. Yeah. Well, let me Google it real quick. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, the statute of limitations for sex trafficking depends on whether the case is criminal or civil. What the hell is civil sex trafficking? Because sex trafficking is classified as a felony in Virginia, there is no time limit for the government to file criminal charges. Most felony offenses in Virginia can be prosecuted at any time, decades after the incident occurred. Civil. If a survivor is seeking to sue a trafficker or a complicit party for damages, the following timeline generally applies. Human trafficking specific claims. Under VA Code SS 8.01-42.4, a victim may bring a civil action within 7 years of the date they were no longer subject to the conduct or reached the age of 18, whichever is later. 7 years of the date they were no longer subject. That's already expired. Not that I could get any money out of them. They're fucking dirt poor. They're living off disability. General personal injury. For other related personal injury claims, the standard statute of limitations in Virginia is typically 2 years from the date of the injury. So my broken hand, from self-defense, that's expired. Not that I was interested in pursuing anything for it. That was in that was in New York. What's the statute of limitations on personal injury in a civil case in New York City? The time limit to file a personal injury lawsuit, known as the statute of limitations, varies significantly based on who you are suing and the type of injury involved. Standard private parties, 3 years. Claims against government, 90 days. 1 year and 90 days. Specialized. Wait, where were we living? This didn't happen in Virginia or New York. What's the statute of limitations on sex trafficking in Durham, North Carolina? Criminal or civil? Criminal. No statute. Sexual battery has a 10-year statute of limitations. Civil, adult victims, 10 years. Durham, I love you right now. By the way, Durham is my hometown. I wasn't just in a random place. Post-conviction rule. For childhood sexual abuse, a survivor may file a civil claim within 2 years of the perpetrator being convicted of a related felony sexual offense, regardless of how much time has passed since the abuse. I don't even know what that means. Key protections and recent updates. Automatic stay. Any civil lawsuit filed for human trafficking in North Carolina is typically stayed while a related criminal investigation or prosecution is pending. Federal claims. Under the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, TVPRA, adult survivors generally have 10 years to file a civil claim, while the statute of limitations for minor victims was eliminated in 2022. Virginia's law proposed. As of February 2026, new federal legislation called Virginia's Law has been introduced to eliminate all statute of limitations for civil claims brought by adult survivors of sex trafficking and abuse. Well, I need to fucking call whoever's representative. Let me click on that link. House Bill 198. Here it is, Baker Donaldson. Let me read this real quick. Okay, I found a correct website. 13 Wham. 13 ABC Wham. The bill is named in honor of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's high-profile accusers. For years, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse were ignored, Schumer said. They were doubted, silenced, dismissed. But when the truth finally came out, even when the world finally listened, too many survivors were told by the law it's too late, that justice has expired. That makes no sense. Melanie Blow, an abuse survivor and board vice president of the Rochester Regional Coalition Against Human Trafficking, says she herself has been impacted by statutes of limitations. It does take trafficking survivors, whether they were trafficked as minors or adults, many, many years to be able to talk about this, to get their life into a situation where they want to press charges and where they can even think about doing this, Blow said. So we don't need any more alleged victims. We need justice. To clarify what that end statement means, alleged victim means the person who did it is not convicted yet. Alleged means they're not convicted. We need justice, which means we need to convict these people and make alleged victims into survivors, or if they choose to continue identifying as such, just plain victims. Will said there were more than 4,500 reports of domestic violence made in Monroe County in 2023. Megan Du Chateauvieux, Willow's president and CEO, said the legislation recognizes that healing is linear and justice should not expire. Healing is not linear. What are you talking about? Oh, I know what they mean now. Like, it's um accumulative. Um, Virginia's law shifts the power balance away from procedural protection for abusers and back towards dignity, agency, and survivor's choice, and that is what justice should look like. Schumer is urging Congress to act on the bill. If you are in crisis or know someone who is, here are some resources that can help. Willow Domestic Violence Center of Greater Rochester, 585-222-7233. So what does that have to do with Durham? Well, I'll I'll see who's the representative in Durham. I'll tell them I went to Durham School of the Arts, I moved away, and briefly lived in Durham again when I was 19 and 20. And during that time that I lived in Durham again, I was, my body, access to my body was exchanged for money that I did not spend. Somebody else spent. And by definition, that is human trafficking. And if they give me more time, I can bring this person to justice. But unfortunately, by the time my case gets to court, it will have expired. So Virginia's law sounds like a good idea for Durham. There's this PDF that it links to. Let me skim through it. Okay, I've skimmed through it and I'm still a little confused, so I will read this more thoroughly some other time. Let me bookmark it. But in the meantime, this phone is finally fully charged. So I'm done talking your ear off on this subject. Here it is, bookmarks. Oh, wait, there's a button at the top of the screen. It's a star shape. That's the bookmark. No. It's saved to the wrong folder. I'm looking through my folders. I don't see any appropriate ones. New chapter of my life, I guess. Let's create a folder called Human Trafficking Recovery and Law. Here we go. Okay. There we go. If you have been trafficked, your initial perception may not be the same as it is years later, and I encourage you to seek a therapist if you haven't already, who is specialized in trauma. And I highly recommend talking to the human trafficking hotline, even if you're not actively being trafficked. If it's a thing of the past, they can connect you with people in your area who will help you recover. They will make sure you're safe, and if you're not safe right now, they can help you get out. And honestly, I'm going to be getting in touch with mine. I might tell them that I have a room for rent for people who need to escape. I don't know if I'm going to do that anytime soon, but eventually I would love to help someone escape poverty and homelessness. For the time being, I'm living alone to heal myself, and I'm working on seeking justice for myself. And and for my child, who was the result of the domestic enslavement that I faced. I have photographic proof that her conception was non-consensual, and I don't want him to have access to her, ever. I'm fine with him continuing what he currently has, where he gets a single photo of her every year on her birthday. I hope it drives him crazy when he looks at those photos. Trying not to cry off my makeup. I I I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to find the chain of infection from this Epstein mind virus all the way to me and how I caught it. Well, I know how I caught it. I want to learn how the person who gave it to the person I got it from, I want to learn how they caught it. That's the someone infected, what should I call them? My owner. Someone infected my owner, and then my owner infected me. They infected her while she was a child. She infected me when I was 19 and had just turned 19. I've tried reaching out to her. It does not go well. She allows her current intimate partner to control her and to harass me anytime I reach out to her. Her intimate partner has called me things such as a no good junkie and asked me how much heroin I got for selling my daughter. I did not sell my daughter to the police. So that's... The police do not buy their children. Not at least from locals. Maybe overseas they'll buy a child, but the police here do not buy children. Not to mention the fact that I would never sell my child. The reasons she has said such things to me is because I reached out to my owner, which is part of my programming. My owner programmed me, and now I have sleeper agents, and the programming tells me to return to my owner. It probably will for the rest of my life. And I would like that for to be an impossibility, so that if I get into a state where my brainwashing takes over again, she is behind bars and cannot accept the offer. But also I want to get her help. I want her to be found not guilty by reason of insanity and spend the rest of her life getting help in a facility. Unless an expert disagrees with me. If someone who knows more about treating people who have my virus thinks that she has a chance at recovery, I want to meet the real her. I want to meet I want to meet the person I fell in love with when I was 18. I want her to not want to die. I want her to have a happy and healthy life. And the person who infected her, I want to find out who infected them. And I want to help them. This man, I presume, last time I checked, they were a man. They have a sex addiction, and they are sadistic, and I would like them to be able to manage those symptoms um, in a healthy fashion so that nobody else gets infected with either an STI or a mind virus. God forbid they find another dissociative system to infect. Or if they move on to children, which maybe they already have. So, in conclusion, if you see me not really talking about how bad America is getting, it's because I already knew. Um, I've been going through this mind virus since 2017 when I got infected, and it will be with me the rest of my life. Whereas for y'all, it will be a hot topic for a while, and eventually it will fade in memory to the point that people will say, instead of this generation doesn't remember a life before 9/11, instead people will say this generation doesn't remember a life before the Epstein files. My trauma will become history. American history. I didn't hope it would go this way. I was hoping that I would become successful in a career that helped the government and the society we live in become better. I guess I'm still doing that. It's just not my career. This is a lot of crying for me. I'm Zephyra right now. I just want the people like me who were a secondary infection or a primary infection or more removed from Epstein who are infected by a mutation of the same virus. I want them to get help. And I want us to be identified. Let me blow my nose real quick. I want people who don't know they've been through this because they went through it as a child and lost the memory. I want them to know who is inside of them. I want them to know that all these weird symptoms they're having are valid and there's a reason that can be identified. I want them to not go on to accidentally infect their own offspring or their nieces and nephews or school children that they teach. And that one person who said, "How dare you continue the lie of the satanic panic of the 90s?" Whoever said that to me, I want to rub this Epstein file bullshit in their face. even though I at the time, I handled it with very much grace. Somebody else replied to them and said, "Are you really that quick to believe that someone being human trafficked is lying about it? That they would just make up being human trafficked?" And I replied to that person, "Hey, I appreciate you, but you're not going to be able to get through to this person. They obviously have made up their mind on the subject, and I don't blame them for the stance they're taking, because the satanic panic of the 90s was a bunch of hogwash. And I see the parallels that they are viewing, and I understand that they wish that people would not demonize Satanists and demonize demonolators who are peaceful people. However, the people I'm talking about are not peaceful. The Church of Satan forbids sexual abuse, whereas this cult that worships demons of the Ars Goetia it was invented by someone very sick in the head as a means to control their victims. And it either led to or developed from MK Ultra. There's just too many parallels. Either they studied this cult itself in order to develop MK Ultra, or because MK Ultra was a defined procedure, someone used the procedure to develop a cult. So this has been going on since before the Cold War, in a different iteration of sorts, at least, if not in verbatim. There's so many topics that the Fourth Reich has brought about to the household name level. If you don't see me protesting ICE, be aware I am doing my part, but my part might not look the same as your part. So if you need me to amplify your voice, I would be happy to do so. And I ask in return that you amplify mine. This has been Ronray as always. Zephyra checking out. I love you. Have a nice night.